Hey, what out there in comic book land? Dan here, doing another trip to my long box where I pick a book from my collection and talk about it. It's sometimes a book that impacted my fandom, a book maybe I'm reading for the first time, even though I've owned it for years, or a book I feel like is interesting to talk about because of different things that are occurring. And that's the case for this, as I'm talking about this week, Captain America White #0. And with the new relaunch of Captain America #1 by Ta-Nehisi Coates, I've been kind of going back to different installments of Captain America just to see different people's takes on it. And what's interesting about Captain America White #0, for don't know, this was a #0 to a series, unfortunately, that never happened. As you can see here, this was supposed to be a 6-part series by Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb that just never occurred. Maybe one day, and maybe that's partially what I'm doing this video, is that put it back in the public consciousness in any way I can to see if we can get an ending to this. Like recently, Jonathan Hickman ended his Shield series after years. We saw even IDW did a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series from the 90s that never ended, and now they're bringing that back as well. So, this was going to be part of what's now just the Three Colors trilogy by Sale and Loeb. We had Daredevil Yellow, Spider-Man Blue, and Hulk Gray, and all four of these kind of re-examinations of those characters and their history. For example, Spider-Man Blue had Spider-Man as an adult looking back at his time with Gwen Stacy being in college and kind of reflecting on that and the impact Gwen Stacy had on him, knowing her death was and what that occurred, and he was listening to different recordings and things of that nature, and kind of like a highlight reel of Spider-Man throughout that time frame. And there was something about Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb that when they're together, they just produce really great comics. Those 3-color books, obviously Batman, The Long Halloween as well. And this first book, Tim Sale is like one of those names where I just wish he did comics again, or did it at this level. And probably, he's doing much other things, but there's something about him that is missing in the world of comics. There's people that try to, I think, imitate his style, but no one ever really executed it as well. There's so much character to it. He's able to kind of capture that old school feel, but with modern sensibility. And what this did, it kind of retold the history of Captain America and Bucky, where Bucky is the strapping kid. He's working with Steve Rogers, but he doesn't know Steve Rogers is in fact Captain America until he accidentally stumbles upon him putting on the gear that he realizes, oh, I've been friends with Captain America this entire time. And then eventually he agrees to train Bucky and become the sidekick that we know and love. And much of this issue is focused in a way of like kind of Bucky learning the ropes, learning to become that hero that Captain America is. He has a lot of admiration for Captain America, but sometimes that admiration isn't coming from the right place, or he's not fully understanding what it means to be a hero. And it seemed like that was going to be what this series was going to get into for its 6-issue run. And Jeff Loeb is one of those writers that he can do amazing things, and he can do things that I can't stand. Like his Hulk run, and when he did Red Hulk, like it has one of the moments that like still to me is the moment I can't. It's like a black eye in the world of Marvel, where he had the Red Hulk punch the Watcher in the face and like he beat up the Watcher, which I don't understand why that happened. He seems like he likes to do crazy out there things, but doesn't think of the ramifications after, like when he worked with the Ultimates line, and he had, I think it was Ultimatum, there was just insanity that occurred, and it felt like just a lot of things were thrown out there and with no regard, and it ended up being a gigantic mess. But with Tim Sale and him, I don't know if it's just Tim Sale causes him to kind of put on the brakes and focus more on character over just insanity. And because his sensibilities don't lend itself to that he's able to tell do his best work. And two, I think Loeb is smart enough to sometimes just get out the way and let Tim Sale tell the story when he needs to. And it still hurts me. And at this day, the very last page, we get this "to be continued" at the very end. You can't really read it, and unfortunately, it's been to continued for some time. I still think, though, like this is a book that's worth reading, even though it has an ending that's probably never going to happen because it's a really well executed first issue 0, and it tells its own story within this one book. And I tend to see it when like kind of put in as an add-on anytime that Daredevil Yellow and Spider-Man Blue and Hulk Gray are put on sale. This is usually added as a bonus to it. But if you're a Captain America fan, this is like, to me, like the ideal version of the way of approaching the classic Captain America style with new ideas. And I know a lot of people probably have other books out there that they wish would finally get finished one day, or other dream projects that never happened, like Jack Kirby having an epic run on Superman or something like that, things that can never happen again. I'd be interested to hear or see what those are for you. Is there a book that you wanted to get finished that never did? It just didn't have that ending, or possibly it was ended too soon because it just didn't have the sales. Recently for me, it was like something like Power Man and Iron Fist by David F. Walker. I thought it was one of the best series Marvel was putting out, but unfortunately it did not sell, so that got canceled. And then David F. Walker was put on Just Luke Cage, and that was good, and that then got canceled. So, or I think he also had Nighthawk, and there's been a lot of those where you have really great books, but they don't catch on as they should. So they don't last very long. So if so, let me know in the comments below. I'd be interested to see that. So, but I think that's going to be it for this week. It's just a short little video this time around as Captain America 0. It's a short book, but a good book. If you want to listen to more of me, you can check out my podcast, Comic Concierge. Drops on Monday. I do a weekly recommend podcast where I go through the book weeks that was in comics. On Thursday, I do a deep dive into a book with a special guest. I recommend something to them based on their interest in other mediums. It could be someone who's never actually even read a comic before, get their thoughts and opinions on the medium. You can also go to Geekcast Radio, as we have tons of content. We have like Tooncast, for example, if you're into cartoons. It goes into a lot of cartoons that came out prior to the 2000s. So Transformers fans, if you're into the Disney cartoons from the 90s, Cinema Geeks, which is the movie podcast I'm also on, Altered Geek, which talks about a variety of different topics, tons of stuff. Geekcast Radio, it's been around for 9 years or so. We're recently trying to put out more video content to kind of modernize our channel in a way. So, but if you want to get more from me, you can also follow me on Twitter at Movie Revolt. I post every time I have a video. I'll make sure to share it there. But for now, remember that comics are for everyone. The key is finding the right one. Until next time, thanks for watching.